Αγαπητοί φίλοι και φίλες, καλησπέρα. Το σημερινό μας ταξίδι θα είναι με μινωικές γεύσεις μαζί με την Αμερικανίδα Αρχαιολόγο Dr. Jerolyn Morrison, η οποία μαγειρεύει σαν αρχαία μινωίτισσα. Ας την καλωσορίσουμε. Hello, Jerolyn. It's really nice to see you again.
Thank you. It's lovely to see you. I can't wait to see you face to face eventually.
Yes, I mean, I will never forget that beautiful talk you gave us. That was, I think, 5th of November 2019 in London.
That's correct. Yes.
Amazing. Yes. It was so beautiful. So we would like to know more about you. And firstly, we would like to know about your background. You know, you are from American.
Yes, that's true.
You know, and also I did mention that you are an archaeologist, but you have so many other degrees, which I would like you to tell us about. All of it.
Okay. Well, I was very fortunate in that I have a very good friend that asked me to come to Crete, who was an archaeologist. And at the time, I had just finished my university degree in fine arts as a potter. And so I was very interested in what people were making, the objects, what they looked like, why they made them, all of these different things that archaeologists are really interested in. And so eventually, as you can imagine, I became very interested in Crete and in the Minoans when I visited here. And I became an archaeologist, but many, many years later. And I wanted to kind of use those skills as a potter, and then the curiosity about the past and objects and in everyday life for people to kind of explore what their life was like. And so I ended up doing that through cooking and through making cooking pots and cooking in them. But, you know, through cooking and through food, you really get to explore everything about life, you know. So for me, it was a great vehicle because you can study the past and the present. And Greece is known for fabulous food, so I was very lucky.
You moved to Crete, actually.
Gosh, I've been coming to Crete since 1997 every year. And the very first year that I lived here year-round must have been in 2006. But before that, I was a Greek resident, and that happened in 2004. It was a very special year. I remember, yeah. It was nice.
So are you happy in Crete? Do you still enjoy the life there?
Yeah, that's a very good question. I think life is very interesting, and it's very interesting in Greece and in Crete particular. So most days, like any place, it's fantastic. It's wonderful. You have amazing friends and adopted family here, and I feel very much at home. Particularly on the island. And I have to say, yeah, for the most part, I'm extremely happy here. I think anytime I'm upset, it's just because I would be upset with life anyway. It doesn't matter, exactly. You know.
Right. Yes. And I have to mention that you speak very good Greek, although you chose to do this interview in English. But your Greek is really good and well done to you. But before we go into the cooking, can you tell us a little bit about Minoa? Who were these people?
Yeah. So what we know about the Minoans, it's very funny because, you know, as archaeologists, we really look at people's trash in the past, and we have a very small amount to look at and to study compared to what was produced. And so what we can understand is quite a lot, but at the same time, it leaves these huge holes. And so one of the questions we all have is exactly where did the Minoans come from? Were they a group of people already living on Crete that kind of formed themselves into the state society, which is what we think in Europe is really one of Europe's first state civilizations. So it's really important. Or did they kind of slowly come in from different places and migrate? Because we know that just like today, people in the past moved, and they moved really large distances. And so it was very common to find artifacts from different, regions of the Mediterranean and, of the Near East and in Africa. So, it's a good question. But the Minoans, they were anywhere between 3000 BC to 1450 BC, depending on who you talk to. There's a lot of debate as well about that. There's always very interesting discussions about chronology. But basically, they had a very organized way of living. They had an organized municipality, let's say. They had an extensive trading network amongst themselves and from lands afar. They were amazing craftspeople, so they could make metal objects, hence the Bronze Age. They could carve, they could build, they're really just quite talented people. And they also were really great with producing food and farming and all different types of extensive networks that involved food and farming as well. So that's quite interesting. I'm interested in that.
Yes.
So the Minoans,
about the DNA and what language did they speak?
They wrote in different types of script. So they had a Cretan hieroglyphic script. And then they also had linear A, which is very similar to the very first Greek form of the Mycenaean language, which is linear B. And nobody has really deciphered linear A yet, but we do know what some of the symbols mean. And so that's quite interesting. But because of this, and because they wrote more in this kind of script language, which looked like it could have been more administrative or writing different types of prayers or songs, like, for example, with the Festos disc, we classify them as a prehistoric language because we don't have books and we don't know the names of everyone. We don't know anything about their, for example, we don't know their cooking recipes, And so there's a lot of things that we would typically go to the books and go to journals and read that we can't read about the Minoans. So they really remain a mystery.
Okay. And how did they disappear? Do we know about this?
Yeah, there's a lot of different theories about this, or let's say hypothesis. A long time ago, people used to think that the Theran eruption in Santorini destroyed the Minoan population, but we don't think that's true anymore. One of the sites that I work at, excavated by Kostis Tavares and Jeffrey Souls, they actually found on some of their large buildings that were rebuilt on top of Theran ash. So we know after the eruption, the Minoan civilization in certain parts rebuilt and continued to flourish and do international trade, which is quite exciting, actually. And so I think from there, we can decide that they did not, this Theran eruption did not destroy them. There's a lot of ideas that the Mycenaeans, when they were kind of warring themselves across the Greek mainland and all the other islands, that they also took Crete. And maybe they did, maybe they didn't, but they were definitely here in some sort of administrative form. And so maybe slowly, the Minoans and the Mycenaeans kind of merged in more of a peaceful way, let's say, I don't know. But it is very clear that, at the end of the period of the Bronze Age, before the Iron Age, everything kind of changes. It changes quite drastically. And the coastal towns tend to all be abandoned, and people really do go up into the mountains in Crete, and they take refuge there. And so, it definitely had maybe it was environmental, maybe it was war, maybe it was trade constraints. I mean, we think about Crete as being the center of the world, or at least I do. But I know, right? But in fact, it was really on the edge of these, huge kingdoms in the Near East and of Egypt. And so they had their own problems and strifes going on that would have affected the Minoan world. And we don't think about it like that, but you never know. Nothing's really isolated, right? Everything's connected.
This is amazing. I would like you to tell us about the tools and, about the cooking and tools and food, of course. But first, we are going to watch a beautiful video that you have prepared for us. Let's
go. Fantastic.
On a hot and humid August evening in 2011, we celebrated the Minoan town that once stood in the fertile coastal plain at Papadiokombos in Satia, Crete. The local Cultural Heritage Club and Krisa Sofianou, the excavation director, organized a community feast where Dr. Steffi Kulvaraki, Jada Lunas, myself, and countless other individuals cooked and prepared food for hundreds of people. Together, we built the large stone hearth and cooked the collected local ingredients from the shallow coastal waters of the sea. To have a better understanding of life in the past, we wanted to prepare foods that had been recovered during excavation in the Minoan houses at Papadiokombos for the feast. In the ceramic Minoan-style pots over hot coals, we prepared a sweet and sour goat that was simmered in a Cretan grape syrup called petimezi, a thick brown lentil soup with cracked coriander seeds and honey with olive oil, and a seafood stew with onions, garlics, limpets, and topshell. As an Aegean bread culture, we also made a barley and wheat bread on hot coals. On the side, various salads, olives, almonds, grapes, and figs were spread out for people to enjoy. On Crete, for the Minoan period, there are no written recipes, but archaeologists find food remains, cooking pots, and cooking areas that provide clues as to what, how, and where people cooked in the past. While it is challenging to know exactly how the Minoan people lived, we believe that using evidence in a structured way to demonstrate a daily activity, such as cooking, brings us closer to the past. Today, as a community, we cook, eat, talk, and dance together. This is how we show gratitude to the past and to each other on Crete.
It's amazing. It looks really, really interesting. How can you do this? I mean, and you look so passionate, involved with all this cooking and the pots. Tell us first about the pots.
So the ceramic pots are quite fun. That was part of my initial work, was to dig up the clay and make the same size and shape pots that the Minoan potters would have used at some of the sites here in East Crete, because we know from working on these large excavation teams what kind of clay they use and in the general area where it was. And so we have a lot of ideas of archaeologists about how they would have been made, how they would have been used. Created a pot of the clay and actually use them in the correct way. And so that's what I wanted to do. And that was basically kind of going back into my past and into my expertise and just working off my foundation of understanding how to build pottery, how to use natural resources, and then how to make the pots and use them. And so for me, it was quite interesting and it was fun, So when people ask, when did the project start? I would say probably when I first went my first day of the university, when I was like, 19 years old. But yeah, I mean, but like education and curiosity is kind of like that. Like, nothing is really lost. Everything's just kind of built on and built on and built on. And so the cooking pots were a really fun challenge. There's 3 different main types. You'll see some in the video and each one had its own challenges to make and its own challenges to learn how to use. And so it's really never boring. It's always quite exciting.
How is your bag, Jerolyn? Because I noticed that you have to, the pots are on the ground, so you have to bend a lot, and I guess for quite a lot of time. Is this painful?
It is, yeah. It can be quite painful, and I'd say also extremely hot. There's a lot of times where, the fire is so intense, and you just really have to learn either to like push through the pain and like deal with it, or learn how to navigate that in a way that's not harmful. And I'm really careful as to who is around the hearth, because of course I really want people to enjoy it and to be there and to participate. But we have to really always think about safety, because it is quite intense,
I can imagine. So what did they used to eat?
Oh my goodness.
Yes. Yeah. Did they have like English breakfast for breakfast? What did they eat?
That would be something. I know we were talking with someone the other day about time travel, and if you would go back, what would a meal during a certain time of day be? And that would be something. What did they have? They had a lot of different things. They had like different types of meat. So we had like sheep and goats, of course. And we also had a surprisingly large amount of pork eaters, it seems like. There's a lot of pork bones. And so those would have been like farmed animals and managed animals. And of course, sheep and goat, you can also use for wool. You can use for milk. You can make yogurt and cheese out of the milk. So I think when you think about these food groups, you also think about not just what one thing is, but what they can do. So another example would be like, we know that they had figs and grapes and pomegranate. And so, like with the grape, for example, you can make wine, you can make raisins, you can eat it fresh as a fruit, or you can make vinegar. So I think you kind of like, you start thinking about these ideas like, okay, what can this one ingredient give me? And you go from there. We have almonds, lots and lots of almonds. And it looked like they were possibly making a drink out of it in one particular site, which is a little bit funny to think about them making almond milk. I don't know if they were, but you can also make amaretto out of almonds, but who knows? I don't think the Minoans were making amaretto either. But it is quite interesting that they were doing that. And they had a lot of...
Yes, go on. Would you say
I'm sorry,
it was healthy in comparison with the modern cretins?
Oh yeah, definitely compared to like the pizza and the gyros and all the stuff that during quarantine we can only order online and have delivered. So yeah, for sure, it's much better. But I mean, I do have to give the people here on Crete a big round of applause, because for the most part, they eat very healthy and they eat very seasonal, and people are very concerned about where their food comes from. And so, for those things, it's really quite amazing. But yeah, I mean, they also had like, they also had like small fish.
Yes, please.
Mm-hmm.
That if I remember well, you do like your wine, because you had quite a bit that night after the exhibition, and we all went for a lovely dinner. You did enjoy your wine. So do you use local wines to serve these Minot tasting in Crete?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we have such amazing, first of all, you're 100% correct that I love wine. So I want everybody to know that. It's really important. But yes, for sure, we use as many local Cretan products as we can. And if we don't use local Cretan, we use Greek. And because the Greeks really, they have amazing wine now. And Crete, it's between Crete and Santorini, you can get some fabulous, fabulous labels. So.
And you had the opportunity to cook for Prince Charles.
Yeah, I did.
How did this happen?
How did that happen?
I have to say that he was so lucky to taste your cooking.
Well, yeah, how did that happen? He was really great, actually. I really loved him. He was very excited about pouring honey into one of the pots and stirring so I helped him stir the lentils and pour the honey. And that was a lot of fun, you know. He was very interested in how you get the food, you know, like if the foods were farmed or foraged or hunted or fished. So we have those kinds of evidence that we can look at as far as food packages. And how did that happen? Well, you know, as an American, for some reason, somehow I ended up at a British university for my PhD. And I've also been a part of the British School at Athens since I came to Crete, actually, and on British school projects. So I think my ties with the British school and them also knowing about this project, of course, they thought it would be something interesting to show him. And so,
that was amazing.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was, I didn't even know. I mean, I knew only a couple weeks before it was going to happen. So, yeah.
I think let's watch Prince Charles now.
Yeah.
Yes, you're cooking.
Exactly. I was so nervous though, you know, but then I was like, no, it's okay. But he was really great, very gracious person. Mm-hmm.
I'm sure you did very well. Let's go and see this beautiful video.
Thank you.
Oh, wow. Yes, I have to say that again, that he was so lucky, and I can't wait to taste all this delicious, because it looks delicious, you know.
Oh, thank you. I can't wait for you guys to come.
I hope after the pandemic, I'll have the opportunity. And where exactly in Crete do you live and you do all this cooking?
Well, that's a very good question. I'm glad you brought that up. I'm actually kind of pan-Cretan at the moment. So I'm working on both ends of the island as well as Heraclio. So it's kind of, I have a place set up in Hanya and in Lasithi as well for doing cooking demonstrations or cooking classes for anywhere from 2 to 25 people. But then we also travel quite a bit, and we'll go to big groups, like, so if there's a conference that's coming into town, or most importantly, if there's like school kids or like local silagos, like you saw in the video, that want to do something special for their, cultural heritage groups or for their educational programs, we're available for them. And so people can contact us on the website, of course. And
which is your
I'm always able.
Your website?
My website. I'm sorry?
Your website. Can you tell us?
My website. Yes, my website is, I guess I'll do it the old-fashioned way. It's Minoan Tastes, but with an S. That's taste with an S.com.
Okay, so
and there's a form in the back, and you can send me a message and just say, what's Inani? What do you want? Yeah.
So can someone book, like, let's say for dinner for few people, for private reasons, a private party?
Yeah, absolutely. And we do special parties, and we can either go to them, which I do a lot. I recommend that because often people are having a party like ours. It's very long, and it's nice to have them relaxed and in their place so that they can be free to come and go as they want to participate. Because the cooking process takes anywhere from like 4 to 6 hours. Wow. So it's a big commitment,
So is it like a 3-course meal? Is it 4? What is the procedure also? Like you have them something light first, and then you go to the main.
Yeah.
So what would you?
Yeah, basically it's a. Yes. Oh, sorry, and that we have a lag time sometimes. Yeah, it's basically a 3-course meal, and then there's like little appetizers, and we make pita in the beginning around the hearth fire, and then there's always like a little dessert at the end. And I totally cheat, like I always have ice cream, which is not necessarily Minoan, but I really love ice cream. And so we do ice cream at the end, or whatever, if you want baklava, if you want chocolate souffle, we have very great Zacroplastias here, so I partner with them, and I get the sweet.
Excellent.
Yeah, it's fun. It's really a great part of the time. But we also
that you say that the meal takes place in a private garden.
Mm-hmm.
So where is that? Is it in your garden? Is it in venue garden? I can imagine, I can visualize it, and I'm sure it's beautiful.
Yeah, it's in a friend of mine has a really nice villa on both sides in Lasithi and also in Hanya, and so we set up there. We have a hearth in both places, so it's quite nice.
So what is
a little bit? Yeah.
Because it sounds amazing and very romantic, as well. Mm-hmm. I mean, would you cook for a wedding, for example?
Oh, I would love to. Yeah, that would be great.
If you do have the offer, yes.
The most we've ever cooked for is, I think, like 250 people in Athens. Yeah.
Which is a lot. How many helpers?
It's a lot, yeah.
Yes. How many people are helping you?
Oh, it really depends. I mean, sometimes I do it myself, but it's not as much fun. I like to always have at least one other person. It's better to have a bigger paraya. But, sometimes we've had as many as 6 people. For the large parties, for sure, we have up to 4 to 6 people. It's nicer that way.
Excellent. Well, we have another video to watch, and then you will tell us what is next for you. Let's go in.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Yeah. Yes, this is, it looks so delicious and it's so different, from the cooking, nowadays. And what would you, what advice would you give to someone who would like to explore Minoa's cooking, to get involved?
Yeah, I think there's so many things that you can do, and there's so many different angles that you can explore this particular topic, let's say. I think if somebody was really interested in getting familiar with ancient type cooking, I would definitely learn about cooking in ceramic pots. It's very important how to use fire as a heating tool. Using the fire and learning how to control that is just really the key, to making your food successful and delicious as well. And then learning your ingredients, like get to know where the food's coming from. What is your food package? Get to know the producers, because they're the ones that make your food good. If you don't have good ingredients, then you're not gonna have very good food. So I would suggest all of those things, like just the fundamentals. But then beyond that, just the knowledge. I think reading as much as you can about the Minoan culture. Send me an email. I'm happy to be in contact with you and help you in any way. And just don't be afraid. There's no wrong question. There's no wrong way to do anything. There's just better ways to do something, I would say.
Yeah, very true. So are you the only one in Crete that cooks in such depth the Minoa cooking, the Minoa taste?
Yeah, I'm definitely the first. I will say that, in the sense that I've been doing this project now since 2006, very heavily and very hardcore. And since that time, I think food in general, and Cretan food in general, and the history and cultural history and people wanting to link to their roots has also become quite popular. And so there are some other people that explore ancient cooking and topics, particularly Minoan food. And so I think that's really exciting. I'm really glad that more people are doing it. I think, the more people that are doing something, the better everything is. So there's a couple of people. I don't know what they're doing now, to be honest with you. There's only, I can't remember, maybe one person out in Hanya. And the way I do it, nobody does it exactly the way I do it. But as far as exploring foods and ancient foods, there's a lot of amazing chefs that are doing that. And a lot of home cooks for sure that are doing that. So, yeah.
Excellent. So, Jerolyn.
Yeah, it's exciting.
What is next for you? Any other plans?
Oh, there's always plans. Let's see. My plans next. I've been working on a couple of archaeological books to publish some of the pottery from those. And I would like to wrap that up. We're working on that with my team that I'm a part of. And I would like to start doing a little bit more publication work to make some small magazines to record and to do other people's stories with food and cooking. I think that's really important. And it's nice. It's fun to listen to what other people are doing and to kind of take down their observations, but make it in a way that's not necessarily academic, but in a way that other people can enjoy it. So if you were, so maybe do a small couple independent, we would call them food zines, something like that. But definitely continue sitting in front of the hearth, cooking, making new recipes, talking to people. I love it. You could really, the thing about Greece, I think, is so amazing. And it's true for probably a lot of places, but you could spend your lifetime in one place and really never get bored. There's always something to explore and somebody to meet and something to do. So,
yeah. So, Jerolyn, did Minoas used to wear aprons?
I don't know. I don't know, but you see them with these kind of apron or this kind of overlay of their skirts, So you would, you would assume it's something like that. Yeah, I need one of those.
Because I know that you're a very good designer, designing aprons. Do you still do that?
Yeah, we still do that. We have these very fancy sequin aprons, which I don't think the Minoans wore sequin aprons, but if they had sequins, I'm sure they would have. Yeah.
They look beautiful, I have to say, and I was very impressed when I saw that film, and I thought, wow, you are definitely multi-talented and well done.
Thank you.
It was a great pleasure having you today, and we do wish you the best. Well done, and honestly, congratulations. And I hope one day we will have the opportunity to taste your delicious food.
Yay, that would be so wonderful. I cannot wait for everybody to, of course, continue to be safe and healthy, and to start to be able to be together again. It's going to be really the best. Really.
Exactly. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you for accepting our invitation, Jerolyn.
Thank you very much. It was such a pleasure to talk with you.
Ευχαριστούμε πολύ.
Ναι, και εγώ.